The glass hit the hardwood and exploded. A sharp, shattering cry of crystal cutting to the sound of laughter and clinking champagne flutes. I froze, my hand still midair. The wine I'd been pouring had turned into a deep red pool crawling across the rug. David stood in the doorway, my husband, his face pale, rigid, his fury barely contained. His eyes locked on me, and on Ethan, our neighbor, whose arm had brushed mine just seconds earlier. The hum of the party stuttered to a halt. Heads turned. Whispers rippled through the room like smoke curling upward. My heart thudded unevenly, heavy in my chest, as if it already knew something my mind didn't. I'd always told myself David's jealousy was harmless, just a tiny insecurity I could calm with a touch or a smile. But tonight, his stare carried something darker, something that made the back of my neck prickle. "Clara," he said, his voice low, a threat wrapped in silk. "We need to talk. Now." Ethan stepped back, his usual grin fading. The air in the room tilted, thickening with quiet accusations no one dared to voice. I forced a laugh, brittle and wrong. "It's just a party, David. Relax." But his eyes didn't move. Their weight followed me as I drifted through the murmuring crowd, my pulse pounding a drumbeat of dread. The night had started harmlessly enough. Our annual neighborhood gathering. String lights shimmered over the backyard, the smell of grilled steak and jasmine clinging to the warm summer air. I'd worn my favorite dress, emerald green, the one David always said made my eyes glow. Ethan had arrived freshly divorced, a little rough around the edges, carrying a bottle of Merlot and a story about his latest woodworking project. We talked for hours, leaning closer with every laugh, the sound of his voice warm against the cool evening. It was innocent, I told myself. Harmless, just a little spark. Something to remind me I was still alive after months of David's late nights. Clipped words, distracted kisses. But David noticed. He always noticed. Across the lawn, I saw him watching, jaw tight, his fingers strangling the neck of his beer bottle. I should have gone to him, slipped my hand into his, and brought him into the circle of conversation. Instead, I leaned a little closer to Ethan, let my laughter linger, let my fingers brush his as I passed him the glass. It felt good, to be seen, to be wanted, even if only for a fleeting moment. I didn't think it meant anything. I didn't think it would cost me everything. By midnight, the crowd had thinned, leaving behind half-empty cups and smeared desserts. Ethan lingered, offering to help clean up, his smile soft, suggestive. I said yes, ignoring the storm of silence gathering in David's eyes. In the kitchen, Ethan and I stacked plates, our shoulders brushing, the air between us charged with something unnamed. "You're different tonight," he said quietly. "Happier." I opened my mouth to answer, but David's voice cut through, sharp, freezing. "Clara, he's leaving. Now." Ethan didn't argue. He just left, the echo of his footsteps stretching down the hall. David said nothing as we cleaned in silence, every clink of dishes painfully loud. I wanted to explain, to say it meant nothing, but guilt choked the words before they left my throat. When we finally crawled into bed, the space between us felt like a canyon. His back was turned, cold as marble. I lay awake, replaying every glance, every word, wondering when harmless had turned dangerous. By morning, his side of the bed was empty. The sheets were untouched, cold. My stomach dropped as I went downstairs. The house too quiet, still heavy with the scent of last night's wine. His car was gone. On the kitchen counter sat a note, written in his precise, controlled handwriting. I know what I saw. I'm done. The breath caught in my chest. A sob clawed its way up my throat. I called his phone again and again. Each unanswered ring hit like a hammer. I texted Ethan, desperate for something, for clarity. His reply was just one line. "I'm sorry, Clara. I shouldn't have crossed that line." What line? My mind spun, replaying every laugh, every touch, every moment under those lights. Had I imagined it? Wanted it? Did I go too far? I sank to the floor, the tiles cold under my skin, trying to piece together what was real. David's jealousy had always loomed like a shadow, but this felt different. This felt final. I called my sister, my voice shaking as I poured everything out. He's overreacting, she said after a pause, but her tone was uncertain. And I could hear the question she didn't ask. What did you do? Hours bled into days. David didn't come home. His office said he'd taken leave. His phone stayed dark. I wandered the house, touching his things, his favorite mug, his old leather jacket, as if they could anchor me. Neighbors whispered. Ethan avoided me. His blinds stayed closed. Then I began to notice things I'd ignored before. The perfume on his coat, the locked drawer in his desk, the late nights that never added up. My heartbreak twisted into suspicion, then rage. On the third day, I found it, a letter in his desk, my name written across the envelope. I saw you with him, Clara, but you didn't see me. I've been trying to fix us, to be enough, but I can't anymore. I'm sorry for what I did. You'll understand soon. My hand shook as I read it again and again, the words blurring through my tears. What I did, the phrase echoed like thunder. I tore through his desk, found bank statements, a second phone, text messages to an unknown number. Meet me tonight. She won't suspect. The truth slammed into me. David hadn't just left me. He'd been leaving me for months, maybe years. My little act of rebellion, the harmless flirting. It was the excuse he needed to walk away clean. I crumpled the letter, sobbing until my throat burned. But somewhere under the grief, anger sparked, sharp and bright. He wanted to cast me as the villain and vanish. Not this time. I grabbed my phone, hands trembling, and typed a message to Ethan. Meet me. We need to talk. When he arrived, his face was pale, eyes full of guilt. Clara, I didn't mean, he started, but I cut him off and shoved the letter toward him. Did you know? I demanded. My voice broke. He read it slowly, shoulders sagging. I suspected, he whispered. I saw him with someone last month. I didn't want to believe it. My knees gave out. He caught me, hands steady but trembling. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. He looked away, guilt carved into his face. Because I wanted you to choose me, not because he broke you. The room shrank around us. My chest burned with betrayal. His, David's, my own. I'd flirted to feel alive, but all I'd done was strike the match that burned my life to the ground. Hours later, I stood in the empty house, my bags packed, keys on the counter. David could have it all. The house, the lies, the hollow marriage we pretended was real. As I stepped outside, the streetlights blurred through my tears. But my heart beat steady, fierce, defiant. I was homeless, but I was free. And somewhere deep inside, I knew I was just beginning.